Hello everyone. Good afternoon, in fact, good evening. So let's start our today's session. And here, as promised, today we are going to start the first topic in Linux administration, that would be managing partitions and file systems. See, guys, basically, this chapter is all about your disk, and inside it, how would you create partitions? That is everything inside it. So let us try to talk about first what exactly is a partition. See, let us say you brought a hard drive from market, and this is your hard drive. Maybe let's say it's a 100 GB hard drive. Now assume that I have not done any partitions. I have kept my OS here only. I have kept my applications here only. I have kept my data here only. I have kept my backup here. Now everything I have kept in a single hard drive without any partition. Now just imagine that due to some reason, if your OS crashes or gets corrupted, what will happen? The overall data will get affected. So instead of going like this, if I would have done partitions, like one partition separately for operating system, one for application, one for database, and one for backup. Now, in this scenario, if my OS crashes, do I have to worry about other of my data? No, because only this partition gets corrupted. The other partition would remain same, and my data and backup would be safe and sound. So this is the actual reason why we prefer going for partitioning, right? So partition is nothing but a mean of dividing the hard drive. And why do we divide? For safety, security, and for organizing purpose, segregation purpose. That is the reason we go for partition. Well, now we have understood what is partition. Let's try to understand how many partitions can I create in a single hard drive. See, it depends on what scheme or what layout you are following. Basically, Linux is an open source. It gives you many options, but two are the tested and widely used schemes in Linux. One is MBR and the other one is GPT. MBR is a very old method, slowly going out of the market. And GPT is the latest method, that is the future. Moving forward, you are only going to find GPT tables. So MBR stands for Master Boot Record. MBR was actually introduced by Windows people. I don't know if you have worked with MS-DOS operating system way back in 96, 95, when Windows 95 used to be there. So at that time, there used to be a separate command line operating system called DOS, Disk Operating System. So that was introduced by Microsoft people. When I started working with computers, initially I saw what is a computer when I used to learn. I remember there used to be some organization like AppTech and NIITs. Only these people used to have this kind of setup. So there, fortunately, I got a chance to learn, and I found out there that DOS operating system commands they used to teach us and all that. So at that time, MBR scheme was there, and same scheme was there in Windows 95, 97, 98, and 2000 ME Millennium editions used to be there. So MBR actually is DOS based partitions. In this, we have three styles of partitions. How many styles, guys? Three styles: primary, extended, and logical. See, primary, why it is called as primary? Because primary gets activated first at the time of booting. So the one that activates first during boot is called as primary. As simple as that I can explain. So if you want to make only primary partitions, nothing else, then you have a limit of 4 partitions only. So in a disk, you can make only 4 primary partition. After that, you cannot create partition. Suppose I have 100 GB hard disk. I have created 4 primary 1010 GB. 40 GB is used. That remaining 60 GB, you cannot use it even if the space is remaining, because the capacity is only 4 primary partition. Now, do you think in our production environment 4 partitions are enough? If you go for databases, they need so many partitions, maybe 30, 35 partitions they'll create minimum. So will it be fine? No. So in this case, what you can do, you can create 3 primary, maybe 10 GB, 10 GB, 10 GB, for example. Total disk size is 100 GB, for example. So 10 GB, 3 partitions I have created. How many I am remaining with, guys? 70 GB. With this 70 GB, I will create a special partition that is called extended partition. So whenever you want more than 4 partition, then with the remaining space we create extended. Now this 70 GB you can use for creating logical partitions inside it. So what is a logical partition? It's a partition that is created only inside extended. So you can now use that 70 space and create many partitions inside it. Straight away, if you are going, only 4 primaries are allowed, 3 primaries are allowed. But if you need more partitions, then we'll go for 3 primary, 1 extended, and several logical partition. So this is the way how we can achieve more than 4 partition. It's little complicated. That's the reason now it is going out. Anyway, total how many partitions I can create in MBR? Let's discuss that. Let us take a notepad and let's note it down. So if you are going with MBR style partition, then in this you can maximally create 16 partition. How? You can create 3 primary, 1 extended, and 12 logical partition. Like that you can create 16 partition. And what is the hard drive it support? It support the hard drive size not more than 2 TB. That means if your hard disk is within 2 TB, you can use MBR. If it is beyond 2 TB, you cannot use MBR. Now guys, in today's time, 2 TB is a very less thing. Nowadays, guys, in our personal laptop, we are using 1 TB, 2 TB disk. In production environment, there will be hundreds of TBs utilized. So MBR, as I was telling you, it's outdating slowly. So suppose I need more than 16 partition, or I need um, 5 TB hard drive support. Then what to be done? So guys, the clear future is GPT. Now GPT is no nonsense partitioning. There are no categories here, guys. In GPT, all partitions are simply called as partition. There is no concept of primary, extended, or logical. Everything is simply called as partition. That's it. No primary, no extended, no logical. Just partition. No rubbish. How many partitions I can create in GPT? So if you are going with GPT, it allows you to create 128 partitions and no categorization. Just all partitions are called as partitions. And what is the maximum size of hard drive it support? 2 zettabyte. Now what is that zettabyte? Let's try to talk on that. I hope you know this calculation. 1024 KB is equals to 1 MB, and 1024 MB is equals to how much? 1 GB. 1024 GB is equals to how much? 1 TB. And 1024 TB is equals to how much? 1 petabyte. 1024 petabyte is how much? It's 1 exabyte. And 1024 exabyte is equals to 1 zettabyte. So you can just imagine that what size it is promising us to give. 2 zettabyte is a very big size what it is talking about. Now, let us say now these 242424 calculation, this is also going outdated. See, nowadays we are using new units of calculation. What is that new units? Let me describe. See, here we are using flat units. 1000 kb is equals to 1 mebibyte, and 1000 mebibyte is equals to 1 gigabyte. Also, 1000 gigabyte is equals to 1 terabyte, and 1000 terabyte is equals to 1 petabyte, and 1000 petabyte is equals to 1 xbbyte, and 1000 xbbyte is equals to 1 zettabyte. So even if you go for this new unit, it is going to be 2 zettabyte. That is the size what it is going to allow. So you see clear future what we are going to work in going forward in today's time is GPT only. But during installation you saw when we were doing partition, it never asked us for our choice. It automatically took whatever it want. That means if your hard disk is very small, like we have given 30 GB, 40 GB, so it took automatically MBR. But suppose if your hard disk is 200 GB, 300 GB, in that case it may go for GPT. But I don't really like this. I really want it to ask us which one you want to go. Maybe I'll choose GPT even with 30 GB because I want many partitions. Anyway, this is how the sizes would be going on. Now guys, this new unit is bigger than that. So 1 zettabyte is smaller. 1 zettabyte is bigger than zettabyte. Now I'll give you one example here guys. I'm sure you might have faced this. You go to a computer store or maybe from Amazon, you have ordered one pen drive around 16 GB, for example, or a hard drive of 1 TB. When you connect it to your laptop desktop, it does not shows you 1 TB or 16 GB. It shows you 14 some change or 800 some change. So you'll get angry about it that I purchased 1 TB and the company has cheated you. Actually, they have not cheated you. What they have sold you is this unit, KB, MB, GB. Suppose you have purchased 16 GB hard drive, but your OS is measuring the same in MIB, GIB, TIB, PIB concept. So this fellow is bigger. So 16 GB will become 14 GIB, like that. It's like you have purchased milk in liters, but you are measuring in your home in kgs. So like that it becomes. So if you ask a question to Google, what is GB to GIB? So 1 gigabyte is equals to 0.93 gigabyte. Suppose you have purchased 16 GB pen drive, so it will show you around 15 GB, right? It's 15 gigabyte. So OS is measuring with new units, and what the seller is selling is old unit. That is the reason the difference comes, right? Even in our Linux environment also, let me power on the machine, guys. I forgot to turn on our Linux machine. Let me power it up. So as I was telling you, even the Linux OS uses the new format. that gigabyte, kilobyte, megabyte, that concept it won't be using here, right? And there is a difference between giga and GB. GB is bigger, giga is smaller. KB is smaller, KB is bigger. So all that unit it is mentioning here. Guys. Just have a look on that converter and you will be able to understand it better. Now then, we have understood here that what is a disk partitioning, how many partitions you can create, what are the criterias we are using. Now let us try to understand how to identify what technology disk you are using. Now guys, if you go to Amazon, Flipkart, or maybe any computer store, and if you ask the question types of disk, so if you say types of disk, you see different types will be mentioned. You will be having, or in fact I'll say types of hard disk. So you see it might show you different types of hard drive. Like you will be having PATA, SATA, SSD, SCSI. Earlier we used to have IDE technology. So different technology disks are there. See, if I look at them closely, different technologies are there as you see. So by viewing them or by reading the label on the top of it, you can very easily tell me what type of disk we are using. But suppose I have given you a new Linux machine and I'm asking you, tell me, what is the type of disk I'm using? So we are somewhere else. Our Linux machines are running maybe on the cloud, on some other data center. So I will not get access to physically view what is the type of disk, isn't it? So in that case, how to know which technology disk I am using? See, there are some naming convention. If you remember them, that is going to be very beneficial. Like there was an old technology ID. Let's not talk about it, guys. It is totally outdated. Nobody is using. Back in 2004, 2005 only, it has expired. Let us say we are using all S letter technology. What do you mean by S letter technology? See, it can be SCSI, Small Computer System Interconnect, or SAS, Serially Attached SCSI, or you may go for SATA, any new technology, SSDs, hybrid SSDs, something like that. All comes under S letter technology. So what Linux does, in slash dev, the first hard disk you have added, it will call it SDA. So if the name is SDA, that means it is a S letter disk. A means the first disk. If you add two hard disk, second hard disk will be SDB. If you add one more hard disk, third hard disk will be SDC, then D, then E, then F, then G, H, I, J. The story continue. But if I do partitions inside it, guys, it would be dev SDA1, dev SDA2, same hard drive, multiple partition. Third will be dev SDA3, right? Then I have SDB1, SDB2, sorry, SDB2 or SDB3. Same will be the case with C, C1, C2, C3, 4, like that. The story will continue. If you are using MBR, you can go up to 16. If you are using GPT, you can go up to 128. Like that, the partitioning scheme will be going on. Now, guys, if you are working on cloud, so you may also find virtual disk. Even what we are using in our virtual box is also virtual disk. But virtualization is converting the disk as SCSI, SAS, SATA. Anyway, direct virtualization disk, if you see, it might name dev VDA, VDB, VDC, or sometimes it would be dev XVDA, XVDB, XVDC, like that. So whenever you say VDA, VDB, or XVDA, XVDB, so in that case, guys, it is virtual disk. Same way, your CD and DVD drives are also having different name. So if you go for CD and DVD, the name will be slash dev SCD, or it may be slash dev SR0, SR1. So these names are something you must be familiar, because while working, you may see so many these names. For example, if you want to see how many disks and partitions you have, so you can use two commands. The first command, what I'm going to show you, is fdisk -l. Now, guys, there is no proper full form for fdisk. You ask man, who can explain you better than man? So it says manipulating disk table. It is not telling you what is the full form. So there is no full form for fdisk. For your convenience, you call it whatever you want. So fdisk-l. This will display what is the disk you are using, what is the size of the partition. So you see the size of the hard disk is 30 gigabyte, GIB. I told you all operating systems have moved to this new units now. And what is the type of partitioning we are doing? DOS. See, I told you that MBR, it is also called as DOS partitions, or sometimes MS-DOS partition. So wherever it says DOS or MS-DOS, this is MBR partition. And inside it, I have three partitions: SDA1, SDA2, SDA3. Size is 1 GB, 20 GB, and 4 GB. So if you calculate them, 20 plus 1, 21 GB, plus 4, 25 GB. Total capacity is 30, out of which 25 is used. That means you are left with 5 GB. Unfortunately, there is no option here that shows you free space. So you have to calculate and understand that, okay, out of that, this much is used, this much is free. So out of 30 GB, just 5 GB is left, which you can do for partitions. One more thing, guys, here it is telling you something called sectors. What is this sectors? Guys, if you look at a hard drive, open the case of the hard drive. The hard drive is actually round and round like this, round, 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 and round. So each round circle is called as cylinder. Each cylinder is divided into tracks and sectors. So these are the sectors where your data actually gets stored. Sectors will be divided into tables and all that thing after formatting. So anyway, it is showing you here that this hard drive is having how many sectors, so that not even a single sector is lost. See, if one cylinder is lost, there is a big area that is lost. But if few sectors are here and there, it's okay. But still it is telling you that total how many sectors are there. It is telling you each partition starting on which sector, ending on which sector, and total how many sectors it has used, so that we can keep an eye that sectors are not getting wasted. Now, what is this ID and type? We will discuss later in the coming classes. As of now, just this much is enough. Okay. Now, being said that, it is telling that this is a DOS based partition. DOS means MBR. MBR means it should have primary, extended, logical. But here, guys, it is not telling me what type of partition it is. Is it primary, extended, or logical? Simply, it is telling me that this is disk. It is not telling me whether it is primary, extended, or logical. In fact, it is not telling me SDA means what type of partition it is. Is it SCSI, SAS, SATA, which one? It is not even telling us that. So in that case, guys, you have one more command called parted-l. So two utilities are there to check the disk and modify the disk. Fdisk and parted. Both are very, very useful. When I say parted-l, You see, it is telling you the disk size is 32.2 GB. Now people get confused here. If disk is telling 30 and it is telling 32, how? Concentrate here. Here it is GIB and here it is GB. So you just ask Google 32 GB to GIB. See, it says clearly. You say GB byte. So it would be around 30. 32.2 if you ask, it will come 30. So anyway, this is the way how it is showing in GB. Now, it says here also it is MS-DOS partition, but here clearly it is telling it is primary, three primary partition, which file system you have used, all that. And here also sizes it is telling, starting size, ending size it is telling. In FDIS sectors are given, here sizes are given. We'll study that how to use them while creating partition. Now, let us say that you brought a hard drive and in that hard drive you created partitions. Now guys, you cannot use the partition for storing the data if it does not have file system. It's like you purchase a land. Now you purchase the land and you have just added fences to it. That's it. Now you cannot live in an open land. You have to make something, isn't it, to stay inside it. You have to make rooms, you have to make washrooms, something you have to live with. So here also, making only a raw partition will not allow you to store the data. A partition can only allow you to store the data if it is formatted with a file system. So what is file system? It is a method of storing the data in an organized fashion on the disk. So if you want to store your data in a very organized manner, then we go for file system. In fact, without file system, there is no scope of storing the data. You cannot store the data in any hard drive without giving file system. So every operating system has file system concept. Like if you look in Windows also, you have C drive, D drive. If you want to format it, when you say format, format is nothing but applying file system freshly. So it asks you which file system. Like Windows uses NTFS, right? So here, what is the file systems that are supported in Linux, especially Red Hat? Again, guys, Linux is an open source operating system. So many, so many file systems are supported. But these are the important file system we should know. ext2, 3, 4 and XFS. Even guys, ext2 and 3 are completely outdated. Nobody is using these file system. In the coming version of my manual, if I create a new manual, I'm going to remove ext2 and 3. We should concentrate on ext4 and XFS only. These are the latest and widely used file system. Basically, ext stands for extended file system. It has version 2, 3 and 4. Latest is 4. XFS stands for extends file system or X file system. ext4 was introduced in 2008, whereas XFS was introduced way back 1993. So initially they introduced XFS. They used it initially. Then they stopped using it and moved to ext. Now they reintroduced same fellow with new feature. Like you see, earlier we used to have motorcycles, Royal Enfield, Bullet, ESD, and all those things. And they stopped. Now what they are doing, they are relaunching with new features. Same like that. So XFS is a very old fellow, reintroduced again with new features. One of the feature both support is journaling feature. what is this journaling feature? Let me give you a live example. Suppose I open one file for testing. For example, I have this file called Srini. When I open, I'll try to write something. Hi all, my name is, I'm typing. Now before I can save it, something has happened. We are connected through network collapsed, or maybe my system crashed. Something happened like this. Now, when the system restart or when I get reconnected to my system, I'll check my file is there or not. See, there is no file with the name Srini. What happened? I did not saved it, so maybe it lost. Guys, this was my personal file, no problem. But assume I was working with a very important file and I wrote already 300, 400 lines inside it, but I was not able to save it. So in that case, what will happen? I'll lose my important work. So I'll restart my work. I'll say again, I want to work with Srini. See, it says, attention, stop, stop, stop. You have not saved the file. Okay, but I saved the file for you. You last time work on that, but you did not saved it. See, it is telling what would you like to do. Open for read only, edit, or recover. I'll say recover. Hit enter. Did I got back my data? That is journaling feature. So guys, journaling feature keep track of your data. By mistake, any file you are not able to save, it save it for you and allows you to recover it back. That is the power of journaling feature. So ext4 and xfs both support this concept. Now what is the file I can maintain maximum file size? See, here I'm talking about single file size. See, in this, the single file should not cross the size more than 16 TB. That does not mean you cannot start with 0. Start with 0 KB, 1 KB, 2 KB, 1 MB, 2 MB, 1 GB, 2 GB, but it should not cross 16 TB size. Have you seen 16 TB file? I haven't. So limit is very high. XFS says I'll give you 8 exabyte. See, we already studied what is exabyte. 1000 petabyte is nothing but 1 exabyte, right? So it is telling I'll give you 8 exabyte capacity, one single file. That's too much. What is the total capacity ext4 can handle? Now, earlier I talked about one single file. Maybe now I'm having tens of files. So what is the total capacity ext4 can handle? ext4 can handle multiple files, but all together it should not go beyond what size? It should not go beyond this fellow guys, 1 exabyte. It should not cross more than 1 exabyte. And what XFS is promising? XFS is telling I'll give you 16 exabyte capacity. So store multiple data. Total data should not cross more than 16 exabyte. So total capacity is this. One more concept is there guys. If you are working with very old operating system and it is using ext2, ext3, all of them can be upgraded to ext4. Now same is not applicable in XFS. Why? Because XFS does not have versions. We are still using XFS 1 only. In future, if they release XFS 2, XFS 3, then you can do upgradation. Okay. Now, the last concept is mounting. This is little confusing concept and I wanted to make it crystal clear without any questions or doubts. So, what is mounting concept? See, When I go for mounting, I'll explain you like this. Assume you have a pen drive, right? Now this pen drive you have connected to your laptop, desktop, or your server, wherever. Now once you connect the pen drive, what will happen? Now it can be any pen drive, guys, SanDisk or HP or whatever. Let me grab one pen drive to you for showing you how this works. Give me a second. I'll get a pen drive. Right, here we go. Now I'll take you to my computer. In this, you see the moment I connect my pen drive, HP pen drive. See, the drivers will be loaded, and once the driver is loaded, in my computer you see USB drive E. This is the folder, guys, actually. When I double click on the folder, I see what is the data inside it, right? So what is happening here, guys? I'm connecting the drive. The drive is loading the drivers. Once the drivers are successfully loaded, one folder is getting created. Now this folder is allowing me to access the data in the pen drive. See, actually, all the data is in this pen drive only, but directly I cannot go into pen drive. Try it out. Suppose I have a disk, SDA1, SDA2, SDA3. Let me try to go inside it. CD dev SDA1 or say cat dev SDA1. Now guys, it will go crazy, but it is not going to work at all. See, it is not working. So the problem is I cannot directly go into pen drive, hard drive partitions. So what we do, we take help of a folder. So when you connect the drive to folder, the folder will help you to see what is inside your drive. So directly I cannot go inside it. Every time I have to go through this folder and I need to check what's inside it. Data is present in the drive only, but to access it, you need to connect it to a folder. For example, you have 5, 10 floors building. Now in that you have to go to first floor, second floor, fifth floor, 10th floor. How would you go? See, you have two options. Either use steps or use lift. Suppose there is a building without steps and without lift or elevator. Can you go? It's impossible unless you are a Superman, Spider-Man, then only you can climb and go. So your work is on fifth floor, 10th floor, 15th floor, but you had to go through that lift or elevator. Otherwise, it is never ever going to allow you to go, right? So same is the case. Your data is in the drive, but without connecting it to a directory or a folder, you cannot access it. So this connecting the drive to a folder in order to access the data. This concept is called as mounting. And guys, suppose my work is over. I don't need that pen drive anymore. So what you do? You go to pen drive option and you say eject or safely remove the drive. The moment you say eject or safely remove the drive, it says now it is safe. Remove your drive. Now, have you ever wondered, guys, what it is doing that it is becoming safe to remove? See, actually, it is breaking the connection between the drive and folder. Why? So that there is no read-write operations going on. When there is no read-write operations are going on, you can easily remove the drive. So this concept is called as unmounting. So whenever you connect a drive to a folder, it's called as mounting. And whenever you disconnect it, it is called as unmounting. Now, suppose you have created a new partition in your hard drive. Let's say the partition name is SDA file. If you want to store the data, if you want to read and write inside this drive, you have to manually create a directory. Maybe I'll create a directory with the name test. Then we connect SDA5 to test. So test become mount point for SDA5. Mount point is nothing but the directory that is connected to the drive to access the data. That means whatever I want to do in SDA5, I can do it by going into test folder. Guys, you might have seen projectors in the movie theaters also. You see projectors are there that projects the data or the projects the image on the screen. So if I don't have a screen, can you watch what is going on in the movie? No. Projector might send images, but if there is no screen, you will not be able to see what's going on. So in the same way, this test is working as a projector. Data is here, but it is displayed on test. So when you see the data, this data is actually stored here. When you make any changes, the changes are happening here. So that is called mounting. When this is connected, it is mounting. And when you break the connection, it is called unmounting. So this is the way, guys, how we work with mounting and unmounting. I hope, guys, by now it is very, very clear to you what is mounting and what is unmounting. Now, one more thing, guys, mounting is of two types, temporary and permanent. What is temporary? See, temporary means you have connected SDA5 to test. This will stay connected till you reboot the system. If you have not unmounted, it remains as it is till the system is up and running. As soon as you reboot the machine, this connection will automatically disconnected. So if you want to use it, you have to mount it again. If you don't want to do that, then there is a concept called permanent mounting. There is a file fs tab in which you have to add entry and then it becomes permanent. Now, if it is a permanent mount, even after the system restart, you will find SDA5 is automatically connected to test. And that is wonderful. In working environments, we always prefer permanent mounting so that even after reboot, we don't have to take that pain or headache of mounting them manually. So guys, in today's class, this much is enough, where we studied what is the partition, what is the different styles of partition, and what is the different disks we use, how to identify them, and what is your hard drive inside it, cylinders, sectors, and all that thing. We studied what file systems are supported, and we also see what is mounting and all. In fact, guys, if you wanted to check what is the file system each partition is using, simply go to parted-l. You see SDA1 XFS, SDA2 XFS. Since Red Hat 7, the default file system is XFS because it is giving high volumes, high scalability. We prefer XFS. But sometimes, guys, we prefer using ext4 also. So in tomorrow's class, we will try to learn how to practically create partitions, format, mount, what are the different tools that are used for this purpose. For today, this much is enough, guys. Now, guys, do you have any questions? You can put your questions now. Is the concept clear or do you have any questions? You can put your questions.